No gifts. No call. Nothing for the fifth birthday in a row. Then I saw my sister's Instagram story, a bow-wrapped car, and thank you, Mom and Dad. So I cut them off. 2 days later, Mom showed up crying on my porch. My 32nd birthday dawned on a Tuesday, indistinguishable from any other. My alarm shrieked at 6:30, Philadelphia's morning traffic already a familiar, suffocating hum outside my apartment window. I stumbled through my routine, brewed coffee, fed Winston, my ginger cat, and, with a hopeful dread, checked my phone while the shower warmed. 3 texts from friends, one from my college roommate Melissa, and a Facebook notification confirming, yes, it was indeed my birthday. Nothing from my parents. Nothing from my sister, Chelsea. The silence shouldn't have stung anymore. This marked the 5th consecutive year my birthday had passed without a whisper of acknowledgement from my family. 5 years of waking with a faint, almost foolish flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. 5 years of that hope dying a quiet death by noon when my phone remained stubbornly silent. 5 years of convincing myself I didn't care, even as something inside me withered, soul deep, a little more with each passing year. I trudged to the marketing firm, a place I'd poured 7 years of my life into, grinding my way from junior associate to senior account manager through sheer determination and 60-hour weeks. My coworkers, these people who knew me only through deadline stress and occasional happy hours, had decorated my cubicle with streamers and brought cupcakes. Jenna from accounting even handed me a Target gift card. These people remembered. My own mother couldn't be bothered to send a text. The cupcake tasted like cardboard in my mouth, yet I smiled, thanked everyone, because that's what you do. You pretend the fundamental rejection from the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally doesn't leave you feeling hollow. You pretend it's fine. After work, I stopped at the grocery store. In the bakery section, I bought myself a small, unadorned cake. The woman behind the counter asked if I wanted anything written on it. No, I said, the word barely a whisper. What would I have written? Asterisk happy birthday to me. From me, asterisk I went home, lit a single candle, made a wish I knew wouldn't come true, and ate 2 slices while Winston purred contentedly in my lap, lost in the mindless drone of reality TV. Around 9 p.m., I made the mistake of opening Instagram. Chelsea's story popped up first. My younger sister, 28 and still living in our hometown of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, had posted a video. The first frame showed her covering her eyes, then the camera panned to a brand new Honda CR-V in the driveway, complete with an enormous red bow. Oh my God. Oh my God. Are you serious? Chelsea's voice shrieked through my phone speakers. The video showed her jumping up and down, hugging our mother, our father beaming in the background. The next slide was a photo of Chelsea posing next to the car, keys in hand, with a caption, "Best parents ever. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I can't believe you did this. I'm crying happy tears. Love you both so much." I sat there on my secondhand couch in my quiet apartment, staring at my phone screen. The cake sat half-eaten on my coffee table. My birthday candle had burned down to nothing. Something inside me didn't crack. It didn't shatter. It simply turned off, like a light switch flipping down. The desperate, hopeful part of me that had spent 5 years making excuses for them just stopped functioning. Asterisk, maybe they're busy. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they'll call later. Maybe they do love me, they just show it differently. Asterisk, all those maybes evaporated into thin air. I was done. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I simply opened my contacts and, with deliberate, almost surgical precision, blocked both their numbers. Then I blocked Chelsea. I went to Facebook, unfriended all 3 of them, then blocked them there, too. Instagram, same thing. I went through every social media platform I could think of and systematically erased them from my digital life. The whole process took maybe 20 minutes. When I finished, I felt nothing. Just a strange, clean emptiness. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in years. I made my coffee, fed Winston, and got ready for work without checking my phone every 5 minutes to see if they'd finally remembered. There was no one to remember now. No one to disappoint me. The loop had been broken. Work felt different that day. I actually focused on the presentation I was preparing for a major client, instead of spiraling into thoughts about why I wasn't good enough for my own parents to remember. My colleague Marcus asked if I wanted to grab lunch, and I said yes, instead of making an excuse to eat alone at my desk while obsessively checking my phone. We went to this Vietnamese place 2 blocks from the office, and I found myself laughing freely at his stories about his disastrous attempt to assemble IKEA furniture. "You seem different today," Marcus observed, dipping a spring roll into peanut sauce. "I don't know, more present or something." I considered telling him everything, but settled for a partial truth. "I made a difficult decision last night. It was the right thing to do, but it wasn't easy." He nodded, not pushing for details. Those are usually the decisions that change everything. He had no idea how profoundly right he was. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my college roommate, Melissa, and we talked for over an hour. Not the surface-level catching up we usually did, but real conversation. I told her everything, the forgotten birthdays, the car, the blocking, all of it. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Sarah," she said, her voice gentle yet firm, "I'm going to say something, and I need you to hear me. I've watched you make excuses for them since we were 18. I've watched you drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what you did wrong, how you could fix whatever invisible problem was keeping them from loving you properly. There was never anything wrong with you. They failed you, not the other way around." My throat tightened. I keep waiting to feel like I made a mistake. Like I overreacted. You didn't overreact. You finally reacted appropriately to years of neglect. There's a difference. She paused. "You want to know what I remember most about sophomore year? You planned this whole trip home for your dad's birthday. You left campus at like 5 a.m. to get there early, brought him this expensive fishing rod he'd mentioned wanting. You were so excited. And when you came back that Sunday night, you looked destroyed. What happened that weekend?" I'd forgotten about that. Or maybe I'd buried it. They planned a surprise party for Chelsea. Her birthday was 3 weeks away, but they wanted to do it that weekend because more people could come. The whole day became about her. Dad opened my gift and said thanks, then spent the rest of the party talking about what a great daughter Chelsea was for organizing the whole thing. I ate cake and watched everyone celebrate her. I drove back to campus at 8 p.m. because no one noticed when I said I was leaving. "Exactly," Melissa said. And that was just one weekend out of hundreds of examples. You've been training yourself not to need them because needing them hurt too much. Cutting them off isn't cruel. "Sarah, it's self-defense." After we hung up, I sat with her words. Self-defense, that's exactly what it was. I was protecting myself from people who kept hurting me, even if they were related to me by blood. The next few days brought an unexpected sense of freedom. I rearranged my living room furniture just because I felt like it. I ordered Thai food at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday. I bought a plant that was probably too expensive, but it made my apartment feel more alive. These were small things, insignificant really, but they felt like declarations of independence. I wasn't waiting for anyone's approval anymore. I wasn't trying to be the daughter they wanted. I was just being myself. Friday night, my phone rang from an unsaved number with a Lancaster area code. I let it go to voicemail. 10 minutes later, another call from a different Lancaster number. Voicemail again. They were trying to find ways around the blocks, probably calling from friends' phones or even the hardware store landline. I changed my voicemail message to a generic recording and turned off notifications for unknown numbers. Saturday morning brought a knock at my door, earlier than my mother's usual Sunday visits. I peered through the peephole and felt my stomach drop. My mother stood on my porch, her eyes red and swollen, mascara streaked down her cheeks. She was wearing her church clothes, a clear sign this visit was planned, clutching her purse to her chest like a shield. I considered not answering, waiting for her to leave, but something compelled me. I opened the door, keeping the security chain latched. "Sarah," she said, her voice cracking on my name. "Please, we need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about." My voice was flat. "Your father and I are so confused. We've been trying to call you for 2 days. Chelsea said you blocked all of us on Facebook and Instagram. What's going on? What did we do?" The sheer audacity of the question hit me like a physical blow. What did they do? They genuinely had no idea. When's my birthday, Mom? I asked, my voice still devoid of emotion. She blinked, confused by the question. What? Your birthday? It's in September, isn't it? It was Tuesday, 3 days ago. I turned 32. Her face cycled through complicated emotions, confusion, then dawning realization, then defensiveness. Oh, honey, we've just been so busy with the store and helping Chelsea with her car registration and her car, the car you bought her. Well, yes. She needed reliable transportation for her new job, and we wanted to help her get started on the right foot. I saw her Instagram story, Mom. From Tuesday. My birthday. The day you apparently forgot existed. My mother's face crumpled. Sarah, we didn't forget. We got the dates mixed up. We thought your birthday was next week. We were planning to call then. You forgot my birthday 5 years in a row. 5. This isn't about getting dates mixed up. That's not fair. We've been dealing with a lot. Your father's blood pressure has been acting up, and Chelsea broke up with Brandon, and the store's been struggling. I sent you both cards for your birthdays. I sent them for Christmas. I invited you to Philadelphia for dinner last month, and you said you were too busy. I've been reaching out for years while you lavish attention on Chelsea and ignore my existence. We don't ignore you. You're just so far away and so busy with your career. Chelsea needs us more. There it was again. The same justification they'd used for years. As if my independence was a reason to abandon me rather than something they should be proud of. Chelsea is 28 years old, and you just bought her a car, Mom. When I was 28, I had been living on my own for 6 years, paying my own rent, building my own life. Did you ever think I might need support too? Did it ever occur to you that maybe I'm independent because I had to be? Because I learned early that I couldn't count on anyone else. That's not true. We've always been here for you. You haven't been here for me since I graduated high school. Maybe longer. I've been an afterthought for a decade. A checkbox you occasionally remember to tick when you're not busy doting on your favorite daughter. Don't say that. We don't have favorites. Mom, you bought Chelsea a car on my birthday. You bought her a car and didn't even remember that the day you gave it to her was the day I was born. How can you stand there and tell me you don't have favorites? She was fully crying now, her shoulders shaking. We love you both the same. We do. Chelsea has always needed more attention. You were always so easy, so smart, so capable. We didn't think you needed us as much. Everyone needs their parents, Mom. Everyone needs to feel like they matter. You do matter. Of course you matter. When was the last time you asked me how I was doing? When was the last time you asked about my job, my life, anything? When was the last time you initiated contact with me instead of waiting for me to call you? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. She couldn't answer because she couldn't remember because it had been years. I can't do this anymore, I said quietly. I can't keep showing up to a family that doesn't show up for me. I can't keep hoping things will change when they clearly won't. So what? You're just cutting us out? We're your parents, Sarah. You're right. You are my parents. And you forgot my birthday 5 years in a row while throwing elaborate celebrations for Chelsea. You bought her a car while I haven't received so much as a text message from you in months. Being my parents means you had a responsibility to love me equally, and you failed. You've been failing for years, and I've been making excuses for you. I'm done making excuses. Please don't do this. We can fix this. We'll do better. You've had 5 years to do better. You didn't need me to spell this out for you to understand that forgetting your daughter's birthday is hurtful. You knew. You just didn't care enough to change. That's not true. Then why didn't you change? Why did it take me blocking you for you to show up? Why did it take me finally setting a boundary for you to suddenly care? She didn't have an answer for that either. I need you to leave now, I said. Sarah, please, Mom, leave. I'm asking you to respect this one thing and leave. Can we at least talk about this more? Can I call you tomorrow? No. I need space. I don't know if I'll ever be ready to have you in my life again, but I know I'm not ready now. You need to go. She stood there for another moment, tears streaming down her face, and I felt a pang of guilt. But I also felt something stronger, resolve. I was tired of setting myself on fire to keep them warm. I was exhausted from begging for crumbs of affection while watching them heap love on Chelsea. Please tell your daughter she matters, my mother whispered, her voice choked. If you ever have children, please don't make them feel the way you're saying we made you feel. The guilt trip attempt almost made me laugh. Almost. If I ever have children, I'll love them equally and remember their birthdays. Now, please go. She finally turned and walked down the steps to her car, a newer model than the one Chelsea just got. I watched her drive away, closed the door, and slid down to sit on my floor with my back against it. Winston emerged from under the bed, climbed into my lap, purring. I didn't cry. I just sat there, feeling the quiet, immense weight of the decision I'd made. Over the next few weeks, they tried everything. My father called from his work number, which I didn't have saved, and left a long voicemail about how I was breaking my mother's heart and needed to be reasonable. Chelsea somehow got my work email and sent a long message about how I was being selfish and dramatic, how Mom and Dad did their best, how I was tearing the family apart over something petty. My mother sent a letter to my apartment, 3 pages of apologies mixed with justifications and guilt trips. I didn't respond to any of it. I saved the voicemail and Chelsea's email in a folder, just in case, but I didn't engage. Each desperate maneuver they made to contact me just reinforced that I'd made the right choice. They weren't sorry for what they'd done. They were sorry I'd stopped accepting it. The letter from my mother was particularly revealing. She wrote about how difficult it was being a parent, how they tried their best with limited resources, how I'd always been so self-sufficient that they assumed I didn't need them. Then came the passage that made me laugh bitterly. We always knew you'd be fine because you're so strong and capable. Chelsea needs us more because she's more fragile. We thought we were doing the right thing by giving each of you what you needed. What I needed was to feel loved. What I needed was for my birthday to matter. What I needed was to not be punished for being competent by receiving less affection. But according to her logic, my capability meant I deserved less care. It was absurd. I showed the letter to my therapist, Dr. Patricia Chin, during our next session. I'd started seeing her a week after cutting off my family, knowing I'd need professional help processing everything. What strikes you most about this letter? She asked. She makes it sound like neglecting me was good parenting, like they were doing me a favor by ignoring me because it made me stronger. And do you believe that? No, I said, without hesitation. I believe I became self-sufficient because I had no other choice. I became strong because relying on them meant constant disappointment. They're taking credit for something they forced me to develop as a survival mechanism. Dr. Chin nodded. That's a very clear understanding of the dynamic. Many people struggle to see that distinction. I've had a lot of time to think about it, I admitted. Years of trying to understand why I wasn't enough. You were always enough, Sarah. They weren't. Those words hit differently coming from a professional. This wasn't just my friends being supportive or me being dramatic. This was someone trained to recognize unhealthy family dynamics, confirming what I'd suspected all along. The week Chelsea's wedding invitation arrived in my email, I had a breakthrough in therapy. Dr. Chin asked me to imagine giving advice to a friend in my situation. What would I tell her to do? I'd tell her not to go, I said immediately. I'd tell her that attending would just hurt her more. That she doesn't owe people her presence at their celebrations when they couldn't be bothered to acknowledge hers. So why is it harder to give yourself that same advice? Because they're my family. Because society says you're supposed to forgive family. Because people will think I'm bitter and cruel. Are you bitter and cruel? I thought about it honestly. No. I'm hurt. I'm angry. But I'm not trying to punish them. I'm trying to protect myself. Those are very different motivations. Bitter and cruel would be going to the wedding and causing a scene. Bitter and cruel would be trying to sabotage their relationships or hurt them the way they hurt you. Protecting yourself is simply declining an invitation to an event that would cause you pain. You're allowed to do that. So, when Chelsea's text with the wedding details came, I didn't agonize over it for days. I didn't create elaborate scenarios in my mind where I went to the wedding and everything magically became okay. I simply deleted it and moved forward. A month later, I was having coffee with Jenna when she casually asked how my family was doing. I'd never told my coworkers the full story, just that we weren't in contact anymore. I actually don't know, I admitted. I haven't spoken to them in almost 6 months. That must be hard, Jenna said, sympathetically. It's actually not. That's the weird part. I thought it would be this constant ache, but mostly I just feel relieved. Maybe that tells you something important. It does. It tells me the relationship was costing me more than it was giving me. Jenna stirred her latte thoughtfully. My sister and I don't talk either. Haven't for 3 years. Everyone always acts like that's this terrible tragedy, but honestly, my life is better without her toxicity in it. Not all family relationships are worth preserving. It was profoundly comforting to know I wasn't alone in this. Society pushed this narrative that family was everything, that blood mattered above all else, that you had to forgive and maintain relationships no matter how much they damaged you. But sitting across from Jenna, who'd made the same difficult choice I had, I felt validated in a way I hadn't before. My friends rallied around me. Melissa came over with wine and listened to the whole story without judgment. Jenna from work took me out for a belated birthday dinner at an expensive restaurant downtown. My neighbor, an elderly woman named Dorothy, told me about cutting off her own toxic family in her 40s and never regretting it. Blood doesn't obligate you to accept mistreatment, Dorothy said over tea one Saturday afternoon. Family is supposed to be your safe place, not the place you have to defend yourself. The hardest part wasn't the guilt or the grief. It was the relief. I felt lighter without them, which made me sad in a different way. Shouldn't losing your family feel heavier? Shouldn't it hurt more? But instead, I felt like I'd put down a backpack full of rocks I'd been carrying for years. My shoulders didn't ache anymore from holding up one-sided relationships. 3 months later, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Chelsea. I'm getting married. Mom and Dad want you to come to the wedding. Please consider it. I know we haven't been close, but you're my sister. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wondered if this could be an olive branch, a chance to rebuild something. But then I thought about what attending would mean. I'd watch my parents fawn over Chelsea on her special day while I sat in the background, probably at a table with distant cousins who barely knew my name. I'd watch them give speeches about what an amazing daughter Chelsea was and how proud they were of her. I'd be expected to smile and pretend everything was fine, to rug 5 years of forgotten birthdays and a lifetime of being second best. I deleted the message. 2 months after that, my company promoted me to Director of Client Relations, a position that came with a significant raise and my own office. I celebrated with my work friends and bought myself the expensive handbag I'd been eyeing for months. I posted a photo on Instagram, which my family couldn't see, with a caption, "Sometimes the best revenge is living well." A year after I cut them off, I was thriving. I'd continued therapy and was working through the complex emotions around rejection and self-worth. I dated a few people, nothing serious, but I was learning what healthy relationships looked like. I'd taken a solo trip to Ireland and discovered I loved traveling alone. I'd adopted a second cat, a rescue named Eleanor, who was missing one eye but had the most loving personality. I still thought about them sometimes. I wondered if they ever truly understood what they'd done. I wondered if Chelsea's wedding was beautiful. I wondered if my father's blood pressure had stabilized. But I didn't wonder enough to reach out. The second year brought my 34th birthday. Melissa threw me a surprise party with 20 people from various parts of my life. We went to a painting class, drank too much wine, and created terrible art while laughing until our stomachs hurt. Someone started a Sarah's Birthday Facts game where everyone shared something they loved about me. I cried, but they were good tears. My phone didn't ring with calls from Lancaster. My mailbox didn't contain cards with their handwriting. The silence was no longer painful. It was peaceful. People ask me sometimes if I regret cutting them off. They ask if I think I overreacted, if maybe I should have given them another chance. I tell them this: you teach people how to treat you by what you're willing to accept. I spent years accepting breadcrumbs while watching them give Chelsea a feast. I spent years making myself smaller so their favoritism would hurt less. I spent years hoping they'd change while they proved repeatedly that they wouldn't. Cutting them off wasn't revenge. It was self-preservation. I don't hate my parents. I don't hate Chelsea. But I don't miss them either, which maybe says everything that needs to be said. Real family doesn't forget you exist. Real love doesn't require you to beg for it. Real relationships don't leave you feeling empty and inadequate. I have a family now. It's made up of friends who remember my birthday without Facebook reminders, coworkers who celebrate my wins, neighbors who check on me when I'm sick, and 2 rescue cats who greet me at the door every night. It's not the family I was born into, but it's the family I chose. And that family shows up. Last week, I ran into someone from my hometown at a coffee shop in Philadelphia. She recognized me and said she'd heard through the grapevine that my parents were telling people I'd moved away and they didn't hear from me much. Not that we'd had a falling out, not that they'd done anything wrong, just that I was busy with my career and had drifted away. I smiled and changed the subject. Let them tell themselves whatever story helps them sleep at night. I know the truth. The truth is that I didn't drift away. I didn't move on because I was too busy or too successful or too independent. I left because they made it clear I wasn't a priority. And I finally believed them. The truth is that love isn't supposed to hurt this much. Family isn't supposed to make you feel this alone. And you don't owe anyone your presence in their life just because you share DNA. The truth is that I'm happier without them, which is perhaps the saddest truth of all. But it's my truth and I'm at peace with it. And that's worth more than 1,000 forgotten birthdays. Sometimes I imagine a different version of my life where they loved me the way I needed them to, where they called on my birthday, where my accomplishments mattered as much as Chelsea's, where I didn't have to cut them off because they never gave me a reason to. But that's not the life I got. This is the life I got. And I'm making it beautiful anyway without them. And maybe that's the real ending here. Not reconciliation or revenge or some big dramatic moment where they finally realize what they lost. Just me, building a life that doesn't include them and finding out that I'm enough all on my own. I always have been.